How's it going, producer or singer? Thales here, and later today I'll record the vocals for my next song called Silence Hurts More. So I figured it would be a great opportunity to show you how to set up Ableton Live for recording vocals and explain my process on how to get the best session I can. If you don't use Ableton Live, worry not, for these settings are available in every DAW and you can still benefit from this video and capture great vocals for your songs in your home studio, in your room. So in the next few minutes, I'll share with you my workflow, some tips on how to configure the DAW, and how to avoid some recording problems that have ruined my sessions a couple times in the past. Hopefully we'll even record a verse or two maybe. First of all, the method I'm about to show you requires only a microphone and headphones plugged into an audio interface that's connected to your computer or your laptop. There's more stuff you could add, more gear upgrades, but to get started you only need the basic things I mentioned, and hopefully good room acoustics, because that's actually one of the most important factors, as your mic may pick up those nasty wall reflections. This mic is the AT2020 by Audio-Technica, with a pop filter to keep those plosives under control, and my audio interface is the Moto M2. I'll have all the links in the description below if you're interested. So here's my process. I usually begin by exporting a simple version of the song, like a piano audio track, so I can stay in tune with a simple metronome click. So when I record the singing, I'm listening to that piano track instead of listening to the full instrumental with drums and effects, which can be overwhelming for some singers to stay focused. That means I record the vocals on a different Ableton save, not the one where I produce the instrumental, which is super busy with 50 to 100 tracks. Nope, I want to keep this one as clean as possible so I don't have any kind of latency issues. There's also the fact that I sometimes like to produce the instrumentals after I have the vocals, so I can build the instrumental around the vocals and not the other way around, which to me makes sense because it's pop music and the vocals are usually the most important thing. But this is not a rule. I know many people that work differently and start with the instrumental production. I did that a lot in the past and it was fine too. So once I'm in the Ableton session, I need to make sure I configured the inputs correctly. So the first step is to create an audio track like this one I just created. Make sure it's receiving audio from my microphone, which in this case is the external input 1. Then I click on this circle icon, which stands for ARM recording, to make it red. And that means this track is ready to start recording as soon as I click the record button on top. Now I need to make sure I can hear my voice while I'm singing, because that's key to staying in tune since my ears will be covered with the headphones. There are two ways of doing that depending on your audio interface. Mine is the Moto M2 and it has a button that I can just turn on and I will always hear my singing in the headphones. But there's another way in Ableton Live by clicking this button. You can choose Auto or In. Auto is usually the best because you can not only hear yourself when recording, but you can also listen to the clips after you recorded them without having to turn this off. So it's set and forget. Just set it to auto and you're good to go. Some people like to have a plug-in chain on the recording track so they can hear their voice with all the effects while they sing. And that helps because they will know what the vocal track will sound like in the context of this song. It would sound close to the final product. And some people perform better vocal takes in that environment. So you can load a compressor, some reverb, equalization, whatever tools you like to use to improve your vocals. And that won't hurt your recording at all if you want to change those settings later. You can just turn the plugins off and you'll be able to keep the raw recordings. So it's just a matter of preference. It doesn't hurt anything. On the other hand, I like to record myself without any effects on, especially compressors. I want to be able to hear my voice exactly as it's being captured, because that helps me adjust my singing and try to place my voice right instead of having my judgment clouded by effects. I only use a utility effect for increasing the volume, even though it sounds super dry. Whatever works for you or your vocalist. Now, before singing for real, run a test and watch the levels. What I mean is, record something to find out if the audio is clipping. You don't want it to be too loud because if there's a point in the song where you sing louder and it clips, that would introduce distortion that can't be removed in post-processing. So always give yourself some headroom. About -6 decibels is a good start, but you also don't want it to be too quiet because when you're mixing and you increase the volume, you may introduce a lot of room noise that's a pain to remove and always leaves artifacts. One really cool feature that Ableton Live introduced not too long ago was the possibility of comping vocals easily. So make sure to show take lanes and you'll be able to see all your takes of the same section of the song if you're recording in loop. Each one of these lanes you're seeing is a different take that was recorded in loop. And this is important because not all vocalists like to record the whole song at once. Some prefer to record it section by section, verses, then choruses, then bridge, and so on. If you're recording with another vocalist, let them decide what works best for them. If it's the first time, try both. So, what's the advantage of recording in loop? Well, you can really zoom into one section of the song at a time. Also, you instantly get more takes to use as doubles if you like that technique. So just highlight the verse, loop that section, maybe 1 or 2 bars before the singing starts so you can have some time to get ready and hit record. Then just let it record in loop for as long as you want and sing that section as many times as you need until you think you've captured a great performance. And it's not so much about the tuning and timing because that can always be fixed with Melodyne or Auto-Tune, but there are some performance issues that even Auto-Tune can't fix. A vocal take can still suck even after pitch correction. And that has more to do with vocal technique than anything we can do in post-production. You can't use plugins to create the emotion, the character, the expressiveness, the vibe of a performance. That kind of stuff you can only hope to capture in a raw vocal take. And later you can enhance it in post-production, but it has to be there in the first place. Then after recording, move on to the vocal comp and pick the best performance for each line. I'll record a whole tutorial on vocal comping later, but for now I'll just show you the basics. You can hear each take recorded by clicking this icon on the right. Then select the takes you like for each line and press enter. That will bring that take to the main track. Then make sure you draw crossfades to avoid clicks and pops. If you want to double your track to give your vocals some natural stereo width, so it's not just one mono vocal track sitting in the center, you can also drag clips from your take lanes into another track. Of course, it has to be a different take because if it was just a duplicate of the same take, it wouldn't work as a double. It will just sum the frequencies and sound louder. I'll make sure to record another tutorial on natural doubling later in case you don't know this technique, but basically you sing the same section more than once, pin one take to the right speaker, another take to the left speaker, blend to taste with the main vocal in the center, and you get this very wide stereo image and your vocals sound larger than life. This effect is used all the time in pop music, especially in choruses and high energy sections of songs. It also helps hide some singing flaws that would be a lot more noticeable if you only had one mono vocal track, but it can also kill the focus and make the words sound confusing if they're not properly synced. Hey, let's record something real quick. Love, I got things to say. Been holding on for a long time. Don't give me that look like you don't wanna hear, like everything is fine. I'm a stampede of pounding words, and you're that old lion, just hanging there speechless. You're not even trying. I don't know if I'm gonna use that one. Anyway, now you know how to record vocals in Ableton Live. Make sure to save the session as a template so you can quickly load it in the future to record more songs. But before you go, it's important we talk about 5 mistakes that you can make that will ruin your recording session, and they definitely have ruined a few of my recordings in the past, so take note of them. Mistake number 1, your recording is full of ambient noise. Some microphones will capture anything, so beware of things like the AC. I usually turn it off for recording. Move laptops and noisy devices out of the room. Computer fans can get pretty noisy, so if you need to have the computer in the room to record, at least keep it clean so the fans don't have to run faster and make even more noise. Mistake number 2, you set up your audio interface with a buffer size that's too low, and that will introduce crackling to your audio recording that's impossible to remove afterwards. On the other hand, if you set up a buffer size that's too high, that would cause more latency. Then your vocalist will hear his voice or her voice with a certain delay that can make it really hard to stay in key and in sync with the instrumental. So you have to find the sweet spot. It really depends on your computer, your gear, and how many plugins you have in your session. Since I record my vocals in a session with almost no plugins, I can go really low and not get crackling. But I'd say 128 samples is acceptable. It causes some latency, but not enough to ruin the recording experience. Anything above that, and things start getting a little complicated. Mistake number 3, we covered quickly in the beginning of the video, and that's setting up your interface too hot and recording too loud, which will cause clipping distortion. So make sure to test singing the loudest parts of your song just to make sure you're not hitting that threshold. Don't make the same mistake I once did. I spent about an hour recording the song just to realize later that it was all ruined by distortion. Then I had to rest my voice and record again the next day. Mistake number 4, your headphones are not isolated enough, and your microphone can pick up the instrumental noise in the same track as you're singing. That would make vocal editing almost impossible. That's why I use this headphone. That's not only super comfortable, but also doesn't let the sound get out. I'll leave a link in the description below in case you need one of these. And mistake number 5 I want you to avoid is having the wrong microphone connected. Yep, that happened to me once. I have a bunch of microphones, so when I recorded the track, I was singing into a mic that wasn't even connected. And the one that was actually recording was not even close to me. So it only picked up the reflections, and it was a disaster. So again, don't forget to perform a levels test before you sing for real. Sound good? Can you please subscribe to the channel if you learned something useful today? And maybe help me out by liking this video and even turning the notifications on so you get to see the next videos? That'll be awesome. Well, you are now ready to record your vocals in Ableton Live, and I'll go do the same thing. Thanks for hanging out. I'm Thales, and we'll talk again soon.